My name is Audrey Thornton. I'm 29 years old. Last Thanksgiving, I stood in my mother's doorway and counted 14 place settings on her dining table. 14 gleaming plates, 14 polished forks, 14 names written in her elegant calligraphy on cream-colored place cards. None of them said Audrey. My mother looked up from her seat at the head of the table, surrounded by relatives and friends, and smiled the way you smile at a door-to-door salesman. "Oh, we didn't think you'd actually come. There's no seat for you." I turned to leave. My hand was on the doorknob when something in me, something that had been silent for 29 years, finally spoke. "That's okay, Mom. I'll just sit in Grandpa's old seat." Her fork clattered to the floor. "How do you know about that?" But that wasn't the beginning. Let me start from where it really began. I should tell you who I am. Not who my family says I am. Who I actually am. I'm a nonprofit finance coordinator at Millbrook Community Services. I audit grant expenditures, reconcile donor accounts, and make sure every dollar goes where it's supposed to go. It's not glamorous. It's not the kind of job that makes my mother's eyes light up at dinner parties. But it's mine, and I'm good at it. The Thornton family, though, we're supposed to be impressive. My mother, Diana Thornton, runs the Thornton Family Foundation. She's the queen of Connecticut philanthropy circles, charity galas, donor luncheons, magazine features about women who give back. My Uncle Marcus is a lawyer, corporate, sharp suits and sharper words. He handles the foundation's legal matters and reminds everyone, constantly, that he went to Yale. And then there's Heather, my little sister, 26, blonde, and perfect. She's the foundation's marketing manager, a position my mother created for her the week after graduation. Heather posts Instagram stories about impact and community building. She's never balanced a ledger in her life. Me? I'm the one they forget to mention. Audrey works in, what is it again? Accounting? That's how my mother introduces me. If she introduces me at all. But there was one person who never forgot me, Grandpa Oliver. He founded the Thornton Family Foundation 25 years ago, built it from nothing, and every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, every family gathering, he saved the seat beside him for me. "You're the only one who understands the real purpose of this foundation, Audrey," he used to say. "Don't let them make you forget that." He died 4 years ago. While I was studying abroad on a scholarship he helped me get. I didn't make it home in time, and my mother has never let me forget it. "You weren't there when he needed you." That's what my mother said at his funeral. Not to my face, never to my face. She said it to Aunt Ruth, loud enough for me to hear from across the room. I had flown 17 hours to get there. My eyes were swollen shut from crying, and that was her greeting. The foundation became her domain after Grandpa died. She restructured the board, hired Heather, gave Marcus a consulting role that paid more than my annual salary. I wasn't invited to a single meeting. "Foundation business is complicated, Audrey. You'd be bored," my mother said once, waving her hand like she was shooing a fly. What I didn't know until 2 weeks before that Thanksgiving, was that I'd been part of that foundation all along. Just not in the way she wanted me to find out. The Thornton Family Foundation receives grants from several organizations. The biggest one, $180,000 annually, comes from the Weston Community Foundation. It's a substantial grant. Competitive, requires extensive documentation. And every year, part of that documentation includes a photograph of the board of directors taken at an annual meeting. That annual meeting? It's Thanksgiving dinner. I remember now how Grandpa insisted on a photo every year. Everyone seated around the table, him at the head, me beside him. "This is our legacy photo," he'd say. "Everyone who matters is in this picture." After he died, the photos continued, the dinners continued, the grants continued. I just assumed I wasn't part of it anymore. But I was. I was in every single photograph for the past 3 years, even the ones I never attended. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I received an email from a woman named Patricia Huang. The subject line read, Verification Request, Thornton Family Foundation Board Member. I almost deleted it, thought it was spam. Then I saw the signature. Patricia Huang, Program Director, Weston Community Foundation, the Weston Foundation, the $180,000 grant. I read the email 3 times. Dear Ms. Thornton, as part of our ongoing compliance review, I am reaching out to verify your participation as a board member of the Thornton Family Foundation. Our records indicate you have served on the board since 2021. We have noticed some inconsistencies in the submitted documentation and would appreciate your confirmation of the following: your attendance at annual board meetings, your signature on consent forms, and your continued involvement in foundation governance. Please respond at your earliest convenience. My hands were shaking when I finished reading. Board member since 2021? I had never been asked to join the board. I had never attended a single meeting. I had never signed anything. I called Patricia Huang that afternoon. Ms. Thornton, thank you for reaching out so quickly, she said. Her voice was warm but careful. I have to ask, are you aware that you're listed as a board member? No, I said. I had no idea. A pause. Then, I see. Would you like me to send you the documentation we have on file? Since you're listed as a party of interest, you're entitled to review it. Yes, please. The email arrived 20 minutes later. Attached was a scanned copy of a grant application, a board consent form with my signature at the bottom, and a photograph. Thanksgiving dinner, 2022. Everyone seated around the table. Me smiling next to my mother. I wasn't there that year. I had the flu. I didn't leave my apartment for a week. But there I was, in the photo, clear as day. I spent the next 3 days digging. Patricia Huang sent me everything, legally, because my name was on every document. 3 years of grant applications, 3 years of board consent forms, 3 years of photographs. In each one, I was present at the annual board meeting. My signature authorized foundation decisions. My face smiled from the Thanksgiving table. 2 of those 3 years, I hadn't been home at all. The pattern was clear once I looked for it. The Weston Foundation requires what they call diverse board composition. At least one member under 35. At least one female member not directly related to the executive director by blood. My mother is the executive director. Heather is her daughter. Aunt Ruth is Grandpa's sister. Too old for the under 35 requirement. I was the only one who fit both categories. They needed me on paper. They just didn't want me in the room. I pulled up the grant requirements document and read it twice. There it was, Section 4.2. All board members must actively participate in governance. Signatures must be authentic and obtained with full knowledge and consent. My signatures weren't authentic. I never gave consent. I called Patricia again. Ms. Huang, I need to ask you something. Those signatures on the consent forms, they're not mine. I didn't sign them. I wasn't even at those meetings. Silence on the other end. Ms. Thornton, are you certain? I'm certain. I can prove it. Another pause. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. Harder. More official. I think you should know. We're not the only ones looking into the foundation. The State Grant Compliance Office has opened an inquiry. An auditor named Daniel Reeves has been assigned to the case. My chest tightened. What does that mean? It means this is bigger than I thought, and I think you need to talk to him. Patricia called me again 2 days later. This time, it wasn't just about paperwork. Audrey, there's something else you should know. Her voice carried weight I hadn't heard before. The state is auditing your family's foundation. An anonymous tip came in about, her words exactly, inconsistencies in board composition over multiple years. I sat down heavily. An anonymous tip? Someone new, someone outside your family. She paused. Daniel Reeves, the auditor assigned to the case, has requested interviews with all listed board members. That includes you. The walls of my apartment felt like they were closing in. Ms. Huang, Patricia, why are you telling me all this? You barely know me. She was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice softened. I knew your grandfather, Audrey. Oliver and I worked together when he first started the foundation, 23 years ago. He talked about you constantly. She laughed, a small, sad sound. Every meeting, he'd pull out photos. This is my Audrey. She's going to carry on the real work someday. My throat closed up. I couldn't speak. He trusted you, Patricia continued. He told me once, toward the end, that you were the only one who understood what the foundation was supposed to be, not a family showcase, not a tax shelter, something that actually helped people. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I didn't know he talked about me like that. He did. And he left instructions, Audrey. A document with his lawyer. Not a will, something else. He called it his final wishes for the foundation. My heart stopped. What kind of instructions? I don't know the details, but I know it exists, and I know it mentions you specifically. Her voice dropped. I don't think your mother ever told you about it, did she? No, she never did. 3 days later, my mother called. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in months, not since she forgot to invite me to Heather's birthday dinner. But something made me pick up. Audrey, sweetheart. Her voice was honey sweet, the voice she used for donors. How are you? I stared at my phone like it had grown teeth. I'm fine. How are you, Mom? Wonderful, wonderful. Listen, I'm calling because Thanksgiving is coming up. I know we've been distant lately, but I want you there this year, the whole family, together, like old times. The whole family, together, like old times. She hadn't said those words to me in 4 years. You want me to come to Thanksgiving? Of course I do. You're my daughter. A practiced pause. I've already told everyone you're coming. I'll set a place for you. Something cold slithered through my stomach. This wasn't right. None of this was right. Okay, I heard myself say. I'll be there. Perfect. We'll see you Thursday at 4. Don't be late. She hung up without saying goodbye. I called Patricia immediately. She invited me. After years of forgetting I exist, she invited me. Patricia's response was measured. Did she say why? Family togetherness. Like old times. A long exhale on the other end. Audrey, think about this. The foundation is under audit. You're listed as a board member on documents you never signed. And now, suddenly, she wants you at Thanksgiving? I hadn't put it together until she said it. She needs me to sign something. That's my guess. Resignation from the board, maybe? Backdated documents? Something to make the paper trail clean before the auditors dig deeper. My hands were steady now. The cold feeling had become something else. Something sharp. Then I'll go. But I won't be signing anything. I found Daniel Reeves's contact information on the State Grant Compliance Office website. His title was Senior Compliance Auditor. His photo showed a man in his mid-40s, serious eyes, the kind of face that had seen too many lies to believe the next one. I called him the next morning. Mr. Reeves, my name is Audrey Thornton. I'm listed as a board member of the Thornton Family Foundation. I understand you're conducting an audit. A brief pause. Ms. Thornton, yes, I was planning to reach out to you. I'd like to save you the trouble. I took a breath. I never agreed to be a board member. I never signed any consent forms, and the photographs showing me at board meetings, I wasn't there. They were altered. Another pause, longer this time. Ms. Thornton, those are serious allegations. I know. If what you're saying is true, we're not talking about a compliance violation. We're talking about fraud. I know that too. I heard him shift, papers rustling. Do you have evidence? I have email correspondence proving I wasn't present at the meetings. I have metadata from the original photographs showing they were edited. And I can demonstrate that the signatures on file don't match my actual handwriting. You've done your homework. I work in nonprofit finance. I know what documentation looks like when it's been falsified. He was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted from skeptical to interested. Ms. Thornton, I need to verify these claims in person. Your family's foundation lists your Thanksgiving dinner as an annual board meeting. I'd like to observe. I can arrange that. You can? I've been invited this year. My mother doesn't know I know anything. She thinks I'm coming to sign whatever documents she puts in front of me. A dry laugh. When do we meet? The night before Thanksgiving, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a glass of wine I wasn't drinking. I was searching my email. If my mother had photoshopped me into those pictures, someone had to have the originals. Someone had to have made a mistake somewhere. People always do when they think no one's watching. I typed Thanksgiving into the search bar, scrolled through years of generic holiday messages, and then I found it. An email from Heather, November 29th, 2022. Subject: Quick favor. Hey Audrey, can you confirm this photo looks good for the family archive? Mom wants to make sure everyone's okay with it before we use it. Let me know. XOXO. Attached. A JPEG file named tg2sakiti2 final.jpg. I clicked on it. There I was, sitting at the Thanksgiving table, smiling, next to my mother. I remembered November 2022 perfectly. I'd been sick for a week, couldn't taste food, couldn't get off my couch. I had texted my mother to apologize for missing dinner. Her response? That's fine, rest up. But here was the photo. Me, healthy and happy, at a dinner I never attended. I right-clicked the image. Properties, details. The metadata was still intact. Date taken, November 24th, 2022. Date modified, November 27th, 2022. Software: Adobe Photoshop. 3 days after Thanksgiving. Someone had opened this photo in Photoshop and made changes. I scrolled through my own photos from that week, found a selfie I'd taken from my couch, tissues scattered around me, dark circles under my eyes. Timestamp: November 24th, 2022, 6:47 p.m. The same time the board meeting photo was supposedly taken. Heather, my perfect little sister. She was the one who edited the photos. She was in on it. All of it. I saved everything. Screenshots, metadata, original emails. Patricia's call came at 9 p.m. the night before Thanksgiving. Audrey, I have something. My contact at your grandfather's law firm, not Marcus, the independent attorney Oliver used for personal matters. She found the document I mentioned. I sat up straight. The final wishes? It's called a letter of intent. Not legally binding like a will, but it carries weight, especially with grant organizations that care about founder intent. And Weston does. What does it say? I heard papers shuffling. I'm going to read you the relevant section. It is my express wish that my granddaughter, Audrey Thornton, maintain an active role in the Thornton Family Foundation in perpetuity. She shall be included in all official foundation proceedings and photographs. The seat beside mine at the annual meeting, or in my absence, my seat itself, shall be reserved for her as a symbol of my trust in her judgment and character. The room blurred. I pressed my palm against my eyes. Audrey, are you there? I'm here. My voice cracked. He wrote that? He wrote it 3 months before he died, filed it with his personal attorney. Diana was notified of its existence, but she never requested a copy. Patricia's voice hardened. She knew, Audrey. She knew what your grandfather wanted. She buried it. The seat beside mine. Or in my absence, my seat itself. Grandpa's old seat. That's what it meant. Not just a chair at a table. A position of trust. A role he wanted me to have. And when I said those words to my mother, I'll just sit in Grandpa's old seat, she heard exactly what I meant. She knew I knew. Patricia, I need a copy of that document. I'll email it within the hour. Audrey, she paused. Your grandfather loved you very much. I know, I whispered. I'm starting to understand how much. Thanksgiving morning. Gray sky, cold wind, the smell of dead leaves and coming snow. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror for a long time. The woman looking back at me wasn't the same person who'd answered Patricia Huang's email 2 weeks ago. That woman had been confused, hurt, still hoping, somewhere deep down, that there was a reasonable explanation. This woman knew better. I chose my clothes carefully. A simple burgundy dress, professional but not aggressive. Pearl earrings Grandpa had given me for my 21st birthday. Flats I could walk quickly in if I needed to leave. In my bag, the printed emails from Patricia, the metadata analysis from the 2022 photo, a copy of Grandpa's letter of intent, and Daniel Reeves's business card. He would arrive 30 minutes after me. We'd agreed on the story. He was a consultant friend from work, someone I'd invited to dinner because he didn't have family in the area. My mother would never turn away a guest in front of company. Image was everything. I called Patricia one last time. "I'm leaving in an hour. Are you ready?" "I think so." I looked at my reflection again, steadier than I felt. "Patricia, thank you. For everything. For telling me what Grandpa said about me." Her voice was warm. "Oliver would be proud of you, Audrey. You know that, don't you?" "I'm starting to. Whatever happens today, you're doing the right thing. Not for revenge, for the truth." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "I'm not going there to destroy them," I said. "I'm going there to stop being used." The drive to my mother's house took 45 minutes. I spent it in silence, hands steady on the wheel. 29 years of trying to earn my family's love. Today, I was going to stop trying. My mother's house looked like a magazine cover. Wreaths on the door, candles in every window, 2 luxury sedans, and Marcus's black Mercedes in the circular driveway. The picture of wealthy New England perfection. I parked on the street, took one breath, then another, then I walked inside. The dining room hit me first, the long mahogany table, the gleaming china, the cream-colored place cards in my mother's perfect calligraphy. I counted them, 14 settings. I found Marcus's name, Heather's, Kevin's, Aunt Ruth's, cousins I barely knew, friends of my mother's from her charity boards. No Audrey. My mother emerged from the kitchen, laughing at something someone said. She wore cream cashmere and pearls. Her smile was camera-ready. Then she saw me. The smile flickered. Just for a second. Then it reset, colder this time. "Oh." She said it like she'd found a stain on her tablecloth. "We didn't think you'd actually come. There's no seat for you." The room went quiet. 14 faces turned toward me. Heather appeared at my mother's elbow. "Audrey, you always do this. Mom said it was optional. You should have confirmed." "I did confirm. You called me, Mom. You said you'd set a place." My mother's laugh was light and dismissive. "Did I? I must have forgotten. You know how busy I've been with the foundation." Marcus stood by the fireplace, swirling scotch. "Audrey, don't make this awkward. Just go home. We'll do lunch sometime." I looked at the table, at the empty space where my place should have been, at 14 people who had watched my mother humiliate me and hadn't said a word. I turned toward the door. My hand was on the knob when I stopped. Something in me, something that had been silent for 29 years, finally spoke. I turned back around. My mother had already looked away. She was adjusting a napkin, smoothing an invisible wrinkle, performing for her guests. The crisis was over. Audrey was leaving. Everything could proceed as planned. "That's okay, Mom." She glanced up, annoyed now. Why was I still here? "I'll just sit in Grandpa's old seat." The words landed like stones in still water. My mother's hand froze over the napkin. Her fork, the one she'd picked up to demonstrate some point about table settings, slipped from her fingers. It hit the floor with a sound like a bell. Nobody moved. "What did you say?" Her voice had changed. The honey was gone. What remained was something raw, something afraid. "Grandpa's old seat." I kept my voice level, calm. "You know, The one at the head of the table. The one he saved for me when he wasn't there. Marcus set down his scotch. His face had gone pale. Heather looked between us, confused. What's she talking about? What seat? My mother didn't answer. She was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. How do you know about that? There it was, the admission. She didn't ask what I meant. She didn't pretend not to understand. She asked how I knew, because there was something to know. Does it matter? I asked. I pulled out my phone, checked the time. Daniel would be here in 8 minutes. My mother took a step toward me. Her composure was cracking, and underneath it, I saw something I'd never seen before. Fear. Audrey, whatever you think you know. The doorbell rang. Everyone turned. My mother's face went white. Who is that? I smiled. The first real smile I'd had in years. That would be my +1. Audrey. My mother's voice dropped to a whisper, dangerous, controlled. Kitchen, now. She didn't wait for me to follow. She walked past me, heels clicking against hardwood, and Marcus fell in step behind her. I followed them into the kitchen, where the caterers had already been dismissed. The door swung shut. My mother turned on me. What are you doing? What game is this? No game. Don't lie to me. Her eyes were wild. You mentioned your grandfather's seat. You know something. What do you know? I didn't flinch. I know enough. Marcus stepped forward. He was taller than me, and he used every inch of it. Audrey, listen carefully. I'm a lawyer. If you're planning something, anything, that damages this foundation, I will personally ensure you face consequences. Defamation, tortious interference, I will bury you. Will you? This family has given you everything, education, opportunities, and this is how you repay us? The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time. That's my guest, I said. Are you going to let him stand outside? My mother grabbed my arm, her nails dug into my skin. Who is at that door? A friend from work, a consultant. He didn't have family to spend Thanksgiving with. I met her eyes. I thought you'd appreciate another witness to your hospitality. For a moment I thought she might actually strike me. Then she let go, straightened her cashmere, smoothed her hair. Fine, your friend can stay. Her voice was ice. But this conversation isn't over. No, I agreed. It's not. We walked back to the dining room together. My mother's smile was back in place, perfect and false. But her hands were shaking. And when she opened the front door, I watched her face carefully. She had no idea what was about to walk in. Before I continue, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been excluded from your own family's table? Not forgotten, deliberately erased. Made to feel like a guest in a house you grew up in? If you have, I see you. I know what that feels like. Drop a comment below. Tell me your story. I read every single one. And if you want to know who just walked through my mother's door, if you want to see the exact moment everything changed, keep watching. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and stay with me. Because what happens next? I didn't see it coming either. Now, back to that doorway. Daniel Reeves stood on the doorstep. He looked exactly like his photo. Mid-40s, serious eyes, a face that had cataloged too many lies to be surprised by the next one. He wore a charcoal suit and carried a leather briefcase. Professional, understated, the kind of man who faded into the background until he didn't. Happy Thanksgiving, he said, extending his hand to my mother. I'm Daniel, Audrey's friend from work. She said you wouldn't mind an extra guest. My mother's smile was rigid. Of course not, any friend of Audrey's. She didn't mean it, but she couldn't refuse, not with 14 witnesses watching. That was the thing about my mother. Image came before everything. She would rather seat a stranger at her table than let anyone think she wasn't gracious. We'll need another place setting, she said tightly. Heather, find a chair. Heather scrambled to obey. A chair was brought from the study. A place setting was assembled at the corner of the table. 2 extra places, 2 unexpected guests. My mother looked at the table, at the seating arrangement she'd planned so carefully. "Well," she said with a brittle laugh, "I suppose we'll have to squeeze." "Actually," I said, "I have a suggestion." Everyone looked at me. "There's a seat at the head of the table. It's empty." I pointed to the chair at the far end. My mother's chair. That was Grandpa's spot. He always said it should go to someone he trusted most. The silence was absolute. "Audrey?" My mother's voice was barely a whisper. "You don't know what you're talking about." "Don't I?" I looked at Daniel, then back at my mother. "Why don't you tell everyone, Mom? What's so special about Grandpa's old seat?" Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. For the first time in my life, my mother had no words. "That's my seat." My mother's voice had recovered some of its steel. She stood straighter, chin lifted, the way she did when she was about to deliver a lecture. "I'm the executive director of this foundation. The head of the table is mine." "But it wasn't always yours, was it?" I asked. "It was Grandpa's. And he had specific wishes about who should sit there." "Your grandfather is gone, Audrey." Marcus moved to stand beside my mother, a united front. "Diana runs the foundation now. She sits where she chooses." Daniel observed quietly, his expression neutral. I could feel him cataloging every word. "But Grandpa left instructions," I said. "About that seat, about me." From the other end of the table, Aunt Ruth spoke up. Her voice was softer than I remembered, more fragile. "She's right, Diana." Everyone turned. "Oliver always said Audrey should sit beside him, at every meeting, in every photograph." Ruth's eyes were distant, remembering. "He told me it was important, something about preserving the right spirit of the foundation." My mother's face went tight. "Ruth, this isn't the time." "He loved that girl." Ruth wasn't looking at Diana anymore. She was looking at me. "He said she was the only one who understood what he was trying to build." "Enough!" My mother's voice cracked like a whip. "This is Thanksgiving dinner, not a board meeting." "Actually," I said, keeping my voice steady, "according to the grant applications you've submitted, this dinner is the board meeting." I paused. "The annual meeting of the Thornton Family Foundation Board of Directors, complete with photograph." Now Daniel's pen was out. He was writing in a small notebook. My mother stared at me with something I'd never seen in her eyes before. She was terrified. "How do you know about the grant applications?" "I know because I'm listed on them." I kept my voice calm, factual, the way I spoke to auditors at work. "For the past 3 years, every grant application submitted by the Thornton Family Foundation has included my name as a board member, my signature on consent forms, and photographs showing me at this table." I let that settle. "The problem is, I wasn't here for 2 of those 3 years, and I never signed anything." Heather made a small sound. Her face had gone pale. "That's ridiculous," my mother said. "Of course you were here. You're confused." "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, opened the photo gallery. This is a selfie I took on Thanksgiving 2022. Notice the tissues, the dark circles. I had the flu. I didn't leave my apartment for a week. I showed the timestamp. November 24th, 2022, 6:47 p.m. Then I opened the grant application photo. Same date, same time, me, smiling and healthy, at this very table. "Explain that." My mother's mouth opened and closed. "The metadata doesn't lie, Mom. The photo was edited in Photoshop 3 days after Thanksgiving." I looked at Heather. "You sent it to me, actually. Asked me to confirm it for the archive." Heather's hand flew to her mouth. Marcus stepped forward. "This is a family dinner. Whatever grievances you have." "Actually," Daniel's voice cut through the tension, quiet but unmistakable, "I'd like to understand this better." Everyone turned to look at him. "I should introduce myself properly." He pulled out a business card. "Daniel Reeves, State Grant Compliance Office. I'm the senior auditor assigned to review the Thornton Family Foundation. My mother's fork, the one she'd picked up from the floor, dropped again. This time, nobody moved to pick it up. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then my mother laughed. It was brittle and bright, the laugh she used at fundraisers when someone said something scandalous. An auditor? At Thanksgiving dinner? She placed a hand on her chest. Audrey, is this some kind of joke? No joke, Mrs. Thornton. Daniel's voice was level. I'm conducting a routine compliance review. Your daughter is listed as a board member, so I asked if I could observe an official meeting. She invited me. This isn't... My mother caught herself, smoothed her face, started over. Mr. Reeves, I apologize for the confusion. My daughter is... troubled. She has a history of emotional problems, difficulty separating reality from mom. What she imagines. She's never gotten over her grandfather's death, you see. She wasn't there when he passed, and the guilt... Mrs. Thornton. Daniel's voice had hardened. I'm not here to discuss your daughter's mental health. I'm here because the documentation your foundation submitted contains apparent inconsistencies. What inconsistencies? Our records are impeccable. The signatures. I pulled the printed consent form from my bag. Here. This is supposed to be my signature authorizing board decisions in 2023. I took a piece of paper from the table, a blank edge of a place card, and signed my name. Then I held both up. The signatures weren't even close. Different slant, different pressure, different letter formation. That's not my handwriting. It's not even a good forgery. Daniel took both papers, examined them, made notes. Handwriting can change, my mother said quickly. Stress affects... It doesn't change that much. Daniel's voice was flat. These signatures appear to have been written by different people. My mother's composure finally cracked, just a fracture, but I saw it. Audrey. She turned to me, and for the first time, there was pleading in her eyes. Why are you doing this to your family? I'm not doing anything to my family. I kept my voice steady, even though my heart was pounding. I'm telling the truth, that's all. I pulled out the printed email from Patricia Huang. This is correspondence from the Weston Community Foundation, your biggest grantor. $180,000 a year. Their program director reached out to verify my board membership because of inconsistencies in your applications. Diana snatched the paper. Read it, her face drained of color. Patricia Huang. Her voice was barely audible. She had no right to contact you. She had every right. My name is on your paperwork. That makes me a party of interest. How dare she? She also told me something else. I let the moment stretch. She knew Grandpa. They worked together when he founded this organization, and she told me about his letter of intent. Marcus moved forward. What letter? The one Grandpa filed with his personal attorney, not you, Marcus, his independent lawyer, the one that spelled out his final wishes for the foundation. I pulled out the copy Patricia had sent me. This is the relevant section. It is my express wish that my granddaughter, Audrey Thornton, maintain an active role in the Thornton Family Foundation in perpetuity. The seat beside mine at the annual meeting, or in my absence, my seat itself, shall be reserved for her. The room went silent. You knew about this, Mom. I looked at her. You were notified when he died. You never told me. That document has no legal force. It has force with grantors. Daniel spoke up. The Weston Foundation requires adherence to founder intent. Violating that intent is grounds for grant termination. Kevin stood up suddenly. My sister's husband, the real estate investor, the man who'd written checks to the foundation. Wait. His voice was sharp. What grant termination? What are you people not telling me? Daniel reached into his briefcase and pulled out a document. It was thick, official-looking, with the Weston Foundation seal at the top. This is the grant agreement between the Weston Community Foundation and the Thornton Family Foundation, signed by Mrs. Diana Thornton 3 years ago. He flipped to a marked page. Section 7.3. The organization must maintain accurate and authentic records of board composition. Any misrepresentation, including falsified signatures or altered documentation, constitutes grounds for immediate grant termination and full repayment of disbursed funds. He looked up at my mother. The signatures on your board consent forms appear to be forged. The photographs submitted as evidence of board meetings appear to be digitally altered. If these findings are confirmed, your foundation will be required to repay $180,000 per year for the past 3 years. That's over $500,000, Heather whispered. $540,000, Daniel confirmed, plus potential civil penalties. This is absurd! Marcus stepped forward, his lawyer instincts kicking in. Founder intent clauses aren't legally enforceable. That letter is a wish, not a contract. You're right that it's not enforceable in court, Daniel said calmly, but Section 12.1 of the grant agreement specifically requires the organization to honor founder intent as documented. You signed that agreement, Mr. Thornton, as general counsel. Marcus went pale. I would have. You didn't read it carefully? I asked. Strange. I thought you went to Yale. For a moment, I thought Marcus might actually lunge at me. Kevin stepped between us. His face was red. I invested $50,000 in this foundation based on representations of transparent, compliant operations. He pointed at my mother. If there's fraud here, I need to know. Now. My mother looked around the room, at the guests, at her family, at the walls closing in. This is a misunderstanding, she said, but her voice was shaking. A misunderstanding. My mother said it again, like she could make it true through repetition. Diana, Aunt Ruth's voice cut through the room. Is what Audrey is saying true? Did you hide Oliver's letter? Ruth, you don't understand. Did you forge her signature? Put her in photographs she never attended? It was for the foundation! My mother's composure shattered. Do you have any idea how hard it is to keep this organization running? The grants, the compliance requirements, the endless paperwork. That doesn't answer. I did what I had to do. Diana's voice rose. Audrey was never here. She was off living her life while I was keeping our father's legacy alive. I needed a board member under 35. I needed diverse representation. She fit the requirements. So you used me, I said quietly. My name, my face, my signature, without asking. You would have said no. So you didn't give me the choice. My mother's eyes were wild now. You have no idea what I sacrificed. The hours, the stress. Father left everything to me, the responsibility, the expectations, and all he ever talked about was you. Audrey understands. Audrey cares. Audrey will carry on. What about me? What about everything I've done? The room was frozen. Mrs. Thornton, Daniel's voice was quiet. Are you acknowledging that documentation was falsified? I'm acknowledging that I did what was necessary for this foundation to survive. Diana, Marcus's voice was sharp. Stop talking, right now. But it was too late. She'd said it, in front of 14 witnesses, in front of an auditor. I looked at my mother, at the woman who had excluded me from tables and photographs, who had made me feel invisible in my own family. And I felt something I didn't expect. Not triumph. Sadness. My phone buzzed. Patricia Huang. Excuse me, I said. I need to take this. I stepped toward the window, but kept the call on speaker. Daniel had asked me to earlier. Evidence, he said, works better when everyone can hear it. Audrey, Patricia's voice was clear in the silent room. I just spoke with your grandfather's attorney. There's something else you need to know. I'm listening. Oliver left you 30% ownership of the foundation in his will, real shares, voting rights, the whole thing. I felt the floor tilt beneath me. What? After he died, someone filed a petition with the probate court. It claimed you had voluntarily relinquished your inheritance. The petition included a signed statement from you, dated 2 weeks after his death, renouncing your shares. I never signed anything like that. I know. Patricia's voice hardened. Because I just compared that signature to your actual handwriting. It's the same forgery as the board consent forms. Someone faked your signature to steal your inheritance. I turned to look at my mother. She was standing very still. Her face had gone the color of old paper. Diana. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Tell me you didn't. I did what was best for the foundation. You committed fraud. Marcus backed away from her. Probate fraud. Forgery. Do you have any idea, my license, if I'm connected to this? You signed off on every document I gave you. I didn't know they were forged. Aunt Ruth had her hand over her mouth. Kevin was already on his phone, probably calling his lawyer. And Heather, my perfect sister, was staring at our mother like she'd never seen her before. Mom, her voice cracked. Did you really steal from Audrey? My mother didn't answer. She didn't have to. I stood there, in that dining room, surrounded by 14 people who had watched my mother humiliate me, and now they were watching her world fall apart. If you've made it this far, thank you. This story isn't just about money or photographs. It's about what happens when someone finally stops accepting the role they've been assigned. If you're that person, if you've spent years being invisible in your own family, I see you. Hit like, subscribe if you haven't, and stay with me. Because the way this ends, even I didn't expect it. Let me tell you what happened next. The room came apart. Kevin was the first to move. He grabbed his coat from the back of his chair, phone pressed to his ear. I don't care if it's Thanksgiving. I need you at the office in an hour. He looked at Heather. I'm leaving. Kevin, wait. I invested $50,000 in this foundation based on your mother's word. If there's fraud, I need to protect myself. He didn't look at Diana at all. My lawyer will be in touch. The door slammed behind him. Aunt Ruth stood slowly, bracing herself on the table. I'm going home, Diana. I need to think about this, about what you've done to Oliver's memory. Ruth, please. He trusted you. Ruth's voice broke. He trusted you to take care of his foundation, his granddaughter, and this is what you did. She left without another word. The other guests followed, cousins, family friends, people whose names I barely remembered. They grabbed coats and bags, murmuring excuses about forgotten obligations. No one met Diana's eyes. Within 10 minutes, the room had emptied. Only family remained. Daniel closed his notebook. I've documented what I need. My report will be submitted to the State Grant Compliance Office within 48 hours. You can expect formal proceedings to begin after the holiday. He looked at me. Ms. Thornton, Audrey, thank you for your cooperation. Then he walked out. I stood in the middle of the dining room. 14 place settings, food getting cold, candles burning down. My mother sat in her chair at the head of the table, Grandpa's chair, and stared at nothing. Marcus was already gathering his things. I need to call the state bar. Get ahead of this. You're leaving? Diana looked up. Marcus? You've ruined me. His voice was ice. I'm done. I picked up my bag. You're leaving too? My mother's voice was hollow. After everything you've done? I turned to face her. One last time. Everything I've done? I kept my voice level. I told the truth. That's all I did. You destroyed this family. No, Mom. You did that. Years ago. I just stopped helping you hide it. I walked to the center of the room. I wanted her to hear every word. I wanted Heather, still frozen in her chair, to hear it too. Here's what's going to happen. I won't be calling. I won't be texting. I won't be coming to Christmas or birthdays or any other gathering where I'm treated like an afterthought. My mother opened her mouth. I'm not finished. My voice didn't waver. If you want to contact me, you can do it in writing. A letter. Acknowledging what you did, not what you had to do, what you chose to do. Use my name, forge my signature, and lie about it for years. Audrey. I'm also going to hire a lawyer. My share of the foundation, the 30% Grandpa left me. I want it documented properly. Not for the money, for the truth. I looked at Heather. She was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. You knew, Heather. You edited those photos. You sent them to me to confirm. You were part of this. I didn't. I didn't think. That's the problem. You never thought about me at all. I walked toward the door. My mother called after me. I'm your mother, you can't just cut me off. I stopped, turned. You're right, you are my mother. And for 29 years I let that mean I had to accept whatever you did to me. I opened the door. That ends today. I walked out into the cold. 2 weeks later, the State Grant Compliance Office officially suspended the Thornton Family Foundation pending investigation. The Weston Community Foundation demanded repayment of $540,000 in grants, 3 years of funding obtained through fraudulent documentation. My mother was removed as executive director by an emergency vote of the remaining board members. Aunt Ruth led the motion. It passed unanimously. Marcus received a formal inquiry from the Connecticut State Bar Association regarding his involvement in certifying forged documents. His license wasn't revoked, but the investigation was ongoing. Kevin filed for divorce 3 weeks after Thanksgiving. In his petition, he cited fraudulent misrepresentation of family finances during their marriage. Heather didn't contest it. And me? I had Thanksgiving dinner 2 weeks late, in Patricia Huang's kitchen, with her and a few colleagues from the nonprofit world, and a casserole dish that definitely needed more salt. Your grandfather would be proud of you, Patricia said, raising her glass. You protected what he built. I didn't feel proud. I felt tired and sad. And underneath it all, something like peace. The foundation's future wasn't certain, but I'd made a decision about my 30%. I asked the interim board to establish a scholarship fund in Grandpa's name, the Oliver Thornton Memorial Fund, for kids from difficult family situations who needed help getting an education. Kids like me. I got a letter last month from one of the first recipients, a 17-year-old from Hartford named Maya. She wrote, "Thank you for believing in me when my own family didn't." I cried for an hour after I read it. My mother has tried to contact me 3 times. Phone calls. I didn't answer. Heather sent a text. Can we talk? I haven't responded. Maybe someday, when they're ready to tell the truth. Boundaries aren't about punishment. They're about protection, about saying, this is what I will accept, this is what I won't. I spent 29 years at a table with no seat for me. Now I set my own table. And there's always room for the people who matter. Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this story touched something in you, if you've ever been the one without a seat at the table, know this: you deserve better. And it's okay to walk away from people who can't see that. Hit the like button if this meant something to you. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next story. And if you want to hear more about people who stopped accepting less than they deserved, check the description. There's another video waiting for you. Take care of yourselves. And set your own table.